Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Thanks for listening to the Your Forest podcast. This will be episode 9. Yeah, episode 9. So, today I brought Derrick Kreger-Smith on again, and we just talked, about random forestry things, stuff he's seen on Facebook that bothered him, and just random myths and misconceptions that people might have about forestry and conservation and that kind of stuff. So, we just dived right into it. Kind of a weird podcast. We're both a little bit tired. He spoke really fast, but it's okay. I got lots of good ones coming up. So, stay tuned. And here's episode 9. Round 2. By round 2, I mean we recorded like 5 minutes of a podcast and realized Derrick's mic wasn't on.
I don't want to tell the same stories again. We had an interesting day in this field. We drove for 12 hours to get to the top of a foothill where we got rained on, and it hailed on us, and there were bears in the area because biologists were dragging moose carcasses, and Matt brought his gun, and I thought it should have been bigger, but he assured me that it was like a big enough gun for pretty much anything. But I don't know guns, so I was like, I thought it would be bigger, which is such a white girl city thing to say. I thought it was bigger, but no, it was good. It was a terrible day.
It was a day where we drove 12 hours, did 3 hours worth of work, and wasted a lot of fuel.
Got rained on the whole time.
And we got stuck.
And we got stuck. That's a bold claim, sir.
Whatever, I got stuck.
I was standing on the
You
road.
were
I wasn't
with
even
me.
in the truck.
The best part was that you were so exasperated by the time I got stuck that you didn't even complain. You just grabbed a knife and walked into the pine trees to get boughs to help us get unstuck.
You were like, we're going to need boughs. I was like, where's your knife?
I don't even think I said that. I think you were just like, where's your knife? I'm going to get boughs. And there was like, all right.
Yeah. No, at that point in the day, I was like, of course we just got the truck stuck. Yeah. Of course.
But you didn't even say that, though.
There was
you
a
were just
bridge
totally
out.
silent. It was just like silent Derrick. And I was like, silent Derrick is a rare thing. You know when Derrick's silent, that something terrible happened.
I tell people all the time, I said, everything's fine if I'm talking. If I get quiet, something's wrong.
Yeah. You either need some sugar, bump that insulin up, or I don't know, or you're extremely offended, which is good. It means you tapped into a nerve there.
Just every once in a while, you'll be like, good, that shuts him up. Let's put that. Just file that away with, just shut up.
So, we had a crazy day. It was cool.
It was cool.
Yeah,
and then we went out with the rest of the boys on the weekend to work with the weather. And it was perfect. It was everything we talked about when we were in the rain.
I was at a bachelor party.
Yeah,
you were doing work.
Yeah, you were getting. I see your photos were awesome.
Did you see my photos? Oh,
you sent me pictures of the boys, cowboy hats and bras.
Not me, just the bachelor.
Yeah.
Let's not get out of hand here.
No. You're just like, I have a reputation. How dare you say that on my podcast?
Was it my bachelor party?
No, it was the soon to be wed fellow, I assume.
That's
who else would be like,
what bachelors
yeah,
are.
I'm here to support you on your crazy night, but I'll wear a bra too. No one does that.
Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know gay guys that do that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Tangent. So the field was interesting. We went back later to do the plots we couldn't do because the roads were too muddy and we couldn't get to it and the bridge was out and all that other stuff. So
that was a lot of fast talking really quick.
Yeah.
I hope everyone caught that. It was really important. So
get
make
on
sure
my
you,
level.
Rewind that and play it back slower so you can get all that information.
It's okay. You can skip to the next one. I'm not upset.
So like I was telling, I asked Derrick to come on again today just because. Yeah, we had some things that we discussed earlier that we wanted to talk about and kind of random things. Nothing that we're super.
It's gonna be super controversial.
Knowledgeable of, but
about GMOs.
Yeah, just weird things we've seen, like weird Facebook posts, weird misconceptions and myths and stuff like that.
Just things that totally frustrate me and burn out my fingers. So typing on my keyboard.
Everything. Yeah,
I keyboard warrior pretty bad. I'm a little easily triggered.
That's most of our conversations.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, it is. That's bad.
100%.
This is bad. Don't hold a mirror up to me. I'm very fragile.
The world needs people like you. There's people like me who just don't care about what Trump is doing. But there's people like you who are like, did you hear what Trump did? And I'm like, what did you do, Derrick?
It's true. It's exactly that. It's one single, and then you put down your glasses, you turn your chair, you sit back wide because you know you're going to be there a minute, and you go, what did he do? That's actually it. I can see it. It's happened at least.
Although that shit he said about North Korea and the nuclear war, that was some shit. We don't have to get into that.
We don't have to get into that. And none of us should form an opinion or state an opinion on that. That's up to the individual.
Moving along.
I'm trying to think of the most recent one. There's a classic one. Do you want to talk about the trees and how they don't talk to each other?
Yeah. So
and how this isn't a cartoon.
Okay. There was a book that came out. What was it called? The Hidden Life of Trees. I think so.
It's based on a book?
Yeah.
I just saw one of those.
I actually listened to the book.
Okay, cool.
And the guy was a forester somewhere. I don't recall where it was, but he wrote this book about how cool trees are. And it's not a bad book. It's just people got some misconceptions from it and took it to the extreme.
No one ever does that, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it never happens at all, right? So he's basically saying, he was bringing out the point that, and this all came from actually a woman, a TED Talk. This woman gave out Suzanne.
Don't sound surprised, Matt.
Or something like that.
Women can do things.
Yeah, that was the wrong tone of voice for that. What I meant was there was another person. It wasn't that guy that figured it out. A woman in BC who did some research and found out that different species of trees were sharing nutrients and carbon between the roots and stuff.
Different species.
Different species. Like that, she had birch and fir. So I'm guessing it was Douglas fir. She didn't specify. But birch and fir that were actually sharing carbon through their root systems, like through the
carbon,
fungi.
That's so odd.
Well, like she just did it. She put radioactive carbon, and it was like not radioactive in like I'm gonna get cancer kind of way, like a radioactive just so she can track
a unique isotope.
Unique isotopes. You can track it with the Geiger counter. And she put two unique ones, one on the fir, one on the birch, and she left it for like an hour or something like that let the photosynthesis take place and let the photosynthesis happen, create sugars, get the sugars go down through the roots and such and such, right? And yeah, she turned out that they were in fact within an hour exchanging nutrients, which is amazing. But the way that this guy describes it in the book is that they're talking and they're communicating and technically speaking, they are communicating. There is a symbiotic relationship going on there where
there's an exchange of material.
Yeah, Derek likes to talk about it. It's good. I'm on his side with this one, but still, it's like technically speaking, yes, they are. There is a action reaction thing going on where they are exchanging materials that one another need. It's symbiotic. That doesn't mean that in a severe situation they wouldn't cut each other off and go to war.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay. I gotta organize my thoughts. So we see competition between the same species, let alone different species, all the time. So when you have a new stand that's established, at some point all those stems grow up, their canopies get wide enough, and they stagnate. And then they just sit, right? So you get aspen, you get pine that do this, and they'll sit and they just fight for every little piece of sugar and every little piece of light they can get. Yeah. And the weakest ones eventually will die out. It thins the stand and it allows it to kind of expand up again and start growing again. So that's pruning. Yeah. Pruning or thinning. Yeah. And it's just part of how the forestry grows. So trees aren't really in the business of helping each other out. If you found a few species that are sharing or have joined the root networks for whatever reason, that's very interesting. But I don't know why they would do that. It's cool that they do that. Right on, cool. I mean, I think all trees are fundamentally the same. There's like roots. There's xylem. There's phloem. I don't know.
I'm not sure why they do it. I think it's honestly the way I think about it. I think that they get a mutual benefit from it. For example, like say the fir, when the birch has lost all its leaves and the fir is still doing photosynthesis, it'll provide some of those sugars to the birch to help it grow. And this, at the same time, when say the fir is under canopy and the birch isn't, just because fir generally can live there and birch can't.
I can see that.
So the fir is getting less sunlight because of its shade tolerant ability, and the birch isn't. It's getting more sunlight. I mean, and then the birch is giving it some. So they're kind of feeding each other, helping each other out, maybe. And there's some kind of like I said, I don't know. This is so like such new information that I'm for me it is anyways.
Okay, with absolutely zero credibility to my name to talk about this, and having not read any of the things you've just talked about.
Hey, you're a forest professional, man. You got this.
It sounds like a diffusion argument, right? So if the birch is doing well and the fir isn't, then they have a connected root system, or they have connected vascular tissue, and so it flows from high concentration to low concentration. And then the reverse is true, say in the spring when the fir has its needles out early and there's not leaf cover, but the birch hasn't flushed yet, and then it can flow that way. So it just sounds like a diffusion argument. But I mean, to say it's communication is completely ridiculous. And the one article I did read about it, it was talking about how trees communicate, and like they were sharing sugars. Yeah. Or they were sugars or like cellulose or carbon or something. And then literally in the article I read, it was so ridiculous. It said, and then at some point in the future when technology is far enough, maybe humans can do the same thing. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that's what, okay, so the one I read, I was like, you're talking about a
You mean
protein.
Superman?
You mean cannibalism? Like, if you're talking about trees exchanging sugars, and like if you're gonna give me some of your energy, I have to physically consume part of you. I have to cut like a couple digits off and have a snack. Like, there's no way that you can just like audio jack to audio jack and like give me a couple volts or something stupid. That's not how I'm gonna get calories from you as a mammal.
But that's because we don't create our own energy.
Exactly.
But also, I guess nothing really technically does.
Well, we do in our mitochondria.
Right. But like, I guess, yeah, nothing really does actually. But yeah, the difference is that the mycorrhizae, that's the name of the fungus. It's the white fibers. If you were to dig a hole in the middle of the forest, you'd find all these white fibers. Those aren't actually roots. They're a fungus that has a symbiotic relationship with trees. So the tree provides it with sugar, and it provides the tree with nutrients and more surface area. And more surface area in the means by having more surface area throughout the soil to pick up more nutrients.
More nutrients, more water.
Yeah. So that's what mycorrhiza, that's what it's called. And that is what's actually connecting the trees.
Yeah,
it's not that their vascular tissue is attached. Like, they're not sharing a xylem and a phloem.
See, that makes way more sense.
Yeah. No, it's because of so that's the thing. So technically, the trees are not talking.
No.
The fungus has a symbiotic relationship with the trees and is passing that information through tree to tree.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% convinced that you can say that different species are cohabitating and helping each other out. I find that hard to believe. I'm not 100% on it. I'm not a tree scientist.
No, but that makes sense. Especially like, okay, so I'm a fungus. Let's go with I'm a fungus.
You are a fungus.
I don't have a central nervous system.
You're a fun guy.
I'm a fun guy. I don't have sentience. I don't have any of that stuff. So if my job is to just lay all over the forest and then kind of pull from high areas to low areas and fill the gaps, I don't care if that's a fir that I'm grabbing from, if that's a birch, if it's a spruce, if it's an aspen.
Doing right now. It's good.
Yeah, I'm like an octopus, but I'm grabbing stuff.
Yeah, I need to get a video for this podcast.
No, you don't. Do you want to lose subscribers? So no. Yeah, so it's just this unconscious like diffusion action. Like, it's just acting as a pathway.
Yeah,
it's like saying a straw is choosing to carry water from the taller glass to the lower glass. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's just a tube.
I like your other.
Oh yeah, people, they're just like, the trees are talking. Well, okay, so when I get to that metaphor example that I used,
so you're waiting.
Put
okay,
that down.
You're holding it back.
The other thing they talk about is like, so if you have a patch of like all aspen or something, and some of them start to experience a drought stress, they can release hormones, or they can release like pheromones or things in the air or things in the roots that can alert the other trees nearby that they're under stress, and then the other trees will, also adjust and try to become more drought tolerant or all the rest of it. And people have used this pheromone or this hormone.
Brain fart.
Yeah, I'm trying to... This diffusion of
Apostolos.
pheromones in the air to say that trees are talking to each other.
Yeah.
Like, one aspen tree's like, hey, it's so dry. And the other aspen tree's like, cool, I still got water, but I'll get ready for it to be, like, real dry. And they go... Like, that doesn't happen. That's not a thing. So it's all just... It's all action and reaction. And so one tree undergoing stress, right? Oh, there's no water. So it puts out the, oh, God, there's no water smell. And the other trees smell the, oh, God, there's no water smell. And it knows that smell because it also puts out that smell. Yeah. So then it's like, I think I should put out the no water smell. I smell the no water smell. But I put out the no water smell. It's all just, it's input, output.
Yeah.
It's
not a smell to them. It's a
yeah.
chemical reaction. They're not literally smelling it.
No.
We're
Wild metaphors.
We're personifying trees.
We're
now.
personifying trees, which is
is
what got us to these articles to begin with. Really, yeah. I'm part of the problem.
Let us not anthropomorphize like things that don't have sentience.
You're no kidding.
Yeah,
it's fiber.
Yeah,
it's vertical fiber with like fun little bits that blow in the wind and make sugar.
Yeah,
get over it. So the same thing I like to compare that to is like, it's, if you're saying that these trees are reacting to other trees, drought stress or pheromones or hormones, then you're saying that your skin reacts to the sun by burning.
Yeah.
Like it's like this, the sun is not having a conversation with my skin when I tan, and they're not having an argument when I burn. You know,
I
it's
love
so
that.
stupid.
That's a good one. No, that's a really good one. 'Cause
It's so yeah.
It's a pretty good metaphor. It's not exact because like the
The sun is not an organism.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
how many million miles away, but yeah, it's like it's the same situation. There's a chemical reaction as a result of an input, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah, it is cool, technically speaking, that this mycorrhizae exists, that the fungi exists that can do that. It has a symbiotic relationship, and it can hold and store and release, carbon, nutrients, and water when it needs to. But yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship between organisms, and I got to figure that out if it's actually the trees. I find it hard to believe that they're grafting. The roots are grafting to each
no.
other.
I also, especially cross species,
It
like
doesn't make any sense.
it doesn't make any sense.
No.
No.
So we're gonna go with no with that one.
No, it
Yeah.
makes way more sense to have a third party
Yeah.
fungus that's being the middle person.
That's my educated guesstimation on that situation.
No, that's totally. I really want to see it. Like, show me a root all the way from a fir
Yeah.
and all the way from a birch, and show me like a little knot where they had a baby
Yeah.
underground. Show me that. I want to see that. But no, mycorrhizal makes more sense.
Burr? Might be
A burr?
I don't know. That was dumb. Let's move on. Anyways, but yeah, it is cool that they.
But I see that post all the time.
Yeah.
Trees talk to each other, man.
Well, that's like the
Nature's
tree-
alive. You
Yeah.
can talk to trees. We're like them.
What's
We're all
that-
made of
what's that other one?
stars.
It's in the same book, I think, Hidden Life of Trees, where he talks about the acacia tree in Africa. When giraffes start
good
eating
tree.
one acacia tree, that acacia tree will go under stress, and it understands that it's being defoliated, so the leaves are being removed by the giraffes.
Which is really just a hormone reaction.
Yeah, it's a hormone reaction, and that tree will release a pheromone or some kind of
Indicator.
that will blow downwind. It doesn't push it through the roots or anything. It goes downwind, and any other acacia trees in that pheromone's path will collect it and go, "Oh shit! Like there's giraffes coming!" Like, and the tree will,
Giraffes!
yeah,
Like kids playing hockey in the street.
yeah. But the acacia trees will actually, the ones that receive those pheromones will actually change their flavor and make it really, really bitter.
Nice.
Supposedly, and then the giraffes come around and they have a leaf or two and they go
Better walk upwind.
spit it out and whatever.
Pretty sure the giraffes would just learn to walk upwind.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah.
Probably, but whatever. It saves the ones downwind, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that is true. So like there is communication in the most technical sense, but it's not. They're responding to actions, they're not sentient about it. They're not conscious. They're not going like, "Ooh, what should I do?" I don't know.
Giraffes are coming. Should I suddenly try to like grow the little spikes longer on my branches? No, that's gonna take too long.
Yeah.
Maybe I could make my leaves bitter.
Yeah.
What do you think, Fred?
It's just
and
an
then it asks the
evolutionary
one
response.
beside it. No,
Yeah.
it's completely just a reaction.
Yeah. So
So there's no dialogue between flame and cellulose when a log is burning in the fire.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is cool,
it's a
but
reaction.
let's not get carried away. These trees aren't crying or they don't feel loneliness.
They're not
they don't,
people. They have
Yeah.
no nerve endings that
Yeah.
like register pain.
Yeah.
Like,
But they are super, super cool plants that exist, and
nature is amazing,
Yeah.
and you can be amazed by it.
we're not trying to like say that trees aren't cool and that they're not this like fascinating organism that lives on our planet that provides us with so much. We're not saying that at all. What we're saying is let's not get carried away and call them people, because
Yeah.
they're not.
They're not.
So
Yeah, and anytime you lay human qualities or sentience over
same thing with animals,
inanimate things,
right?
it's so silly.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
gets
the
carried
Disney
away.
effect.
The Disney effect. I mean, like, I'm
TM.
sure animals do have some kind of emotional response to things, but it's
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not human-esque in its form. That's for sure.
Totally silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I consider myself to be I love the environment and I love trees and I love nature. I'm a big fan of conserving sensitive areas while utilizing areas that are more appropriate for it, for forest resources or recreation or whatever, right? I haven't really got my head around people who go mudding and stuff and tear up bogs and they're just like,
Oh.
I love the backwoods. I'm like, you're killing every fish.
Well, you know what, man? Like,
With that mud.
I have a guy lined up to talk about ATV use on the landscape.
Oh, please do.
No, and he's really good. He's very like, he knows his stuff.
Good.
He's not like on one side or the other. He's kind of down the middle. He kind of knows both arguments, and honestly, like even myself, like I spent my entire childhood like every day I came home when I was like 12 to 16, I would come home and I would go and find all of the mud holes, and I would purposely go through them until I got stuck on purpose.
Yeah.
And come back with like 200 pounds of mud on the quad and wash it off and go again the next day. And I thought it was the best thing. I had so much fun doing it. It was the best. I loved it.
I don't disagree
and
that
I
it's
see
fun.
videos of people doing that now, and it makes me cringe. And honestly, I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, don't do that. Like, it's so, now that I know the consequences of my action, before I didn't. I was just a dumb kid being like, oh, nothing matters. Nothing I do can affect the world. But like, no, yeah, it can. So there's definitely ways to, like, we're not saying that people shouldn't use ATVs. Like, they're always going to be used. I love ATV. I use it for hunting. I use it for like just going for a trip, going like a quad ride or whatever, right? But responsibly. It can be done responsibly, where you're not blowing through fish-bearing streams and rutting it up and making it all muddy
the
and
large
silting
trucks,
it.
right? Like when you get the mutter trucks, and then they hold mutter festivals. Like I've seen them around Drayton Valley. I've been down roads, and there's like all these massive trucks parked, and they have their own little banners that they put up next to the road, like MutterCon, 2014 or whatever it was, and a big arrow. And I'm like,
MutterCon.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
I'm not fun, the one. Man. It's fun. It's so much fun. Like, I loved it when I was a kid. I honestly, if it wasn't for the scientific part of my mind being like, dude, what are you doing? I would still be doing it today, because it is so much fun, and I get it. But it's so detrimental.
You have to look those roe in the eyes and tell them their parents are going to die.
We don't have sturgeon. Oh, we have sturgeon. That's true. We do, actually. Never mind.
I don't know anything about fish. That was a shot in the dark.
Roe,
I nailed it.
Sturgeon is roe. But there's roe. Every fish has roe. But
yeah, I was going to say. I was like, that's the name prigs. But,
anyways.
Yeah, I'm not a huge... I mean, I'm never going to take it away from people. And you can't stop people. That's the other thing.
No, you just have to try and educate people and just kind of get the idea into their heads. Like, hey, if you can help it, like, maybe don't burn giant holes in this creek or this mud hole, because it's causing problems.
It would be one thing if it was completely in the center of muskeg, where it's going to have to hit a bunch of peat, the water's going to slow, and the soil can't really go anywhere. But you're not finding your good mud in the middle of muskeg. You're finding it on sites that are on their way down to or adjacent or are creeks, like proper.
Some people like the
creeks.
muskeg stuff. That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. But
also very good.
There's a little bit of a push in industry to treat like large soil releases similar to like a petrol.
Oh yeah, like a spill.
Like a spill. There's a group of people that argue that the damage is equivalent. Yeah. And they should actually be treated the same way, and they should be reported the same way.
It might be, man. I don't know. Like I haven't done enough on it. That's why I'm having this guy on. Hopefully he can shed some light on that. He might know. If he doesn't, then I'll find somebody else who does know. Because that's the type of stuff I want to get to. Definitely want to find those answers. Man, my brain is barely on today.
It's you know what? It's that day. It is that. It is
Derrick
that.
and I both looked at each other today. I was like, hey, man, you want to do a podcast today? He's like, maybe.
Like, I've only been here an hour, and this should be like, I should be so full of energy, but I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. And I'm getting ready for hunting camp, for elk camp, so my mind is elsewhere completely. Yeah. By the way, there's not going to be a podcast next week.
An unrelated story. Bye. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I don't. Oh, trees talking to each other. These people kill me.
Anyways, trees are awesome. I love trees. That's why I'm in this industry. But they're not people.
You have to hug them to get the ribbon around them so that they can tell where the edges of the cup block are.
Tree hugger.
I did for 3 years.
Oh, my phone. Later. It's the first time I got a phone call on the podcast.
You were doing good. What else?
Oh yeah, I got a little paper here with some crap we can talk about. Oh yeah, check this out. Okay, I went on when I was kind of thinking about misconceptions and myths. I was like, who is the biggest person or like organization against forestry? And I was like, Greenpeace. Oh, so I just went to the Greenpeace website and looked up like forestry, see what popped up. And it seems like they've gotten a little less crazy. They've gotten more like,
I hear they're crazy is a different flavor now.
No, they are still. But like on their website at least, they're trying to like dumb it down. But their intentions are good. Their methods are horrible. But anyways, so yeah, they had a thing about saying that logging practices are like unsustainable, like clear cutting is horrible, and like it's ruining caribou and it's ruining wolverine habitat and stuff. And yeah, that's It's not unsustainable. There's a reason that we're doing it the way we're doing it, and it is because it is the most sustainable way that we can think of. Okay,
Yes.
so it's
From mimicking natural disturbance,
Yeah.
something that's been on the land base long before us.
yeah, and we do it in a really good way. So like, yeah, sure. If you were to go out and you were to cut a like 1 million hectare square chunk of bush
How much is that in acres?
in
People don't know.
acres,
Average
Oh,
public don't know
acres?
hectares.
what the hell? Okay, so a hectare is 100 meters by 100 meters. An acre is like a third of that, I think.
Okay, so it's
Acres smaller.
so it's like 3 acres to a hectare.
I think it's something like that. I think it's smaller.
Okay,
for
so
sure.
we're talking about
I
like
forget.
400,000.
What am I, man? I'm not my dad.
acres.
My dad would know this answer. I don't know
Oh,
this
no,
answer.
No, a million. Okay, so you're talking about like 3 or 4 million acres.
Whatever. This is a hypothetical argument. Let's not get caught
You're
up in the
right.
P's and
You're
Q's here.
Sorry
Okay,
about the
so
math.
let's say we cut this giant piece of bush, okay, and we pay no attention to the creeks, we pay no attention to nesting sites, we pay no attention to wetland, to upland, pay no attention to any of the indicators, and we just cut it all. That's horrible. That would be a horrible, horrible crime against
everything
the
you
environment.
listed is like
Okay.
our job.
Yeah, exactly.
To
So
look for
that's
that.
not what we do, people. So clear cutting. There are rules and regulations around. You have to stay a certain distance away from certain size creeks so that you can stop any erosion that may happen, which doesn't generally happen, but may happen from going into the creek and causing sediment to,
It does so many things.
yeah. There's a lot of things
There's
like
a
that. But
long
anyways,
laundry list of what happens when you put soil in the water, and none of them are good.
yeah. So that'll be a whole other podcast. But anyways, so there's things in place to keep us from going into creeks and wetlands
We
and stuff
protect
like that.
springs. We protect mineral licks.
Nesting sites, and currently
Dens.
I know that the forest industry is really, really, really looking into their practices in relation to species at risk.
Yep.
So caribou is the biggest one right now, and I actually got a guy coming on to talk about caribou soon, so stay in tuned for that.
Good stuff. Good
Yep.
stuff.
But they're trying to figure out the best way to help them out because they do need older growth forests. They eat lichen, so in order for them to get that, they need a certain specific areas, right? And there's kind of some things up in the air about it, whether or not to save caribou, if you should kill wolves, or if you should. But the real problem is access. There's too much access, and and whatever, right? But so the forest industry is looking into it, and they're trying to figure out the best ways to protect those resources because we do want the caribou to stick around. I'm not 100% sure if the science is out or in on it, but we're trying to figure it out. Like right now, we don't just go out and cut all the oldest stuff. It's actually a spatial harvesting sequence. So we do it in a specific manner that is created by a computer and analyzed and done properly, and grows the forest over 200 years to make sure that it'll be sustainable over time. And we will have to make sure that we keep the same age distribution on the landscape throughout time. So there should always be 10% old growth, 20%.
And these numbers are arbitrary.
Yeah, these are arbitrary numbers. I'm just saying so it should be 10% old growth. It should be 20% almost old growth. There should be another 50% somewhere in the middle, and then like 30 or whatever it is. It should be under, right? So we don't try and maintain that distribution. But the caribou thing, we're working on it.
We're working on wildlife. We're working on maintaining the forestry mosaic, which is very important for biodiversity.
Yeah.
We're managing for water. We're managing for species that currently fall within like acceptable levels of population, but we're noticing trends that are starting to lean to they might have habitat at risk and all the rest of it. So we're bird species, like even things like sparrows and like some of the chickadees and things like that. Like we have biologists that are keeping track of all those populations and stuff and how industry impacts that.
Oh yeah, no, there's lots of biologists
There's
doing
a great
research on
talk at the
everything.
AGM last year about linear disturbances and how it affects bird populations and the minimum size they need to be able to have nests.
I don't remember that one, but
it was great.
Yeah. No, there's lots of stuff like that. But anyways, the way we are managing our forests is sustainable despite what you may hear. It's built that way on purpose because, like I said before, I don't know any foresters that are in it to, pillage the landscape and take all the money and run. Nobody's out there.
Nobody.
We're not deforesting. People, that's another big one, right? Like people think that, it's a clear cut, it's deforested. Like, okay, deforesting is the act of removing trees and vegetation off of a landscape and replacing it with agriculture land, or replacing it with a city or a town or a village or whatever it is, a dam. Like it's literally making it so that forest can no longer go back, period.
Yep.
Right? That's not what we're doing. And
we're not salting the earth after we cut it.
yeah.
Like, the forest is like, okay, so before the 1950s, we weren't even reforesting.
Yeah.
We were that was the true like cut and walk away.
Yeah.
And those stands came back. They probably didn't come back to the same quality that was there before, and that's why we plant, is to be responsible and to get the forest like a really good kickstart to get back to where it was in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
But no, the forest has always bounced back.
Yeah.
It's super resilient.
As long as you don't, like you said, salt the earth, spill oil all over it, or do something stupid like that, or fragment it to the point where every 100 meters there's a pipeline. Like, that's not good.
Or a highway or something ridiculous.
Or a highway or
whatever.
whatever.
Power line, whatever, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But, the sustainability of forest practices today are world-class
I would
Canada.
Let's speak to Canada.
Well, in Canada. Yeah. I don't know about other places so much, but in Canada, like, our forestry practices are considered world-class. We're at the leading edge of it. Not saying it can't get better. Not saying we're not constantly trying to improve it. We're just saying that it's the best that it could be right now, and we're working on making it better, as always, right? The other big thing about clear cutting that I saw on the Greenpeace website, awesome website, by the way.
I will never go there. I'm proud of you for going. I'm not doing it.
Anyways, they were saying that clear cutting decreases carbon sequestration or something like that. Or maybe that wasn't the Greenpeace website. I don't want to misquote them. But it was
oh my God. Yeah, you're right. Don't drag Greenpeace's name through the mud. They don't do that with literally anyone else. They don't baselessly. I can't.
Yeah. Anyways,
Whatever.
I saw a thing on the internet where clear cutting would decrease the carbon sequestration availability
Overall.
of the forest. So their thoughts are that you remove the trees, and now there's just these tiny little trees trying to. Oh my God! I got so many phone calls. Okay, I put it on silent. Anyways, I thought I did too. I didn't think I'd get 2 phone calls at the same time. But anyways,
Brag about it.
so what the heck was I talking about? Oh, right.
Carbon
sequestration. So carbon sequestration is the act of trees or vegetation in general taking carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and putting it into their fiber, into their roots, and into the soil so that it is not in the atmosphere anymore, right? By cutting down trees in a clear cutting fashion, the way that's done, the stuff that I read, it said that you're actually doing the opposite. Because an old growth forest or a medium growth forest has slowed down its carbon sequestration. It's not growing as much biomass anymore, right? It's kind of hit its peak. There's a climax. And when you cut down and turn that wood fiber into buildings or paper or something like that,
it gets tied up in walls.
Yeah, you're tied up. The carbon is now tied up in walls rather than being burnt on the landscape. And now you have a new forest coming up, which is like maximizing its potential. It's pulling out as much carbon as it possibly can, trying to take up as much space and grow as fast as possible. So you are actually drastically increasing the amount of carbon that is pulled from the atmosphere by creating a clear cut. And that happens for about 30 years after you cut it. You have an increased amount of, by the time it gets to about 30 years, then they start to slow down a little bit because they've done a lot of stem exclusion, and there's less competition now. But it's for the first 30 years, the amount of carbon sequestration increased is massive. It's a crazy amount. So
do you know why? Because there's no shade.
Yeah.
They have full sun. They have a bit of exposed soil. They have microsite. They have coarse woody debris to provide shelter to seedlings. They have every advantage.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. So clear cutting, if it's done improperly, it can be horrible. But doing anything improperly is horrible. You need to do it properly, right? So we're protecting all of the things that we need to protect. We're protecting water. We're protecting nesting sites, species at risk. We're just protecting anything we can. And even now, clear cutting is becoming, I don't know if it's becoming, but we're starting to look into doing things like understory protection. So you have understory conifer species like spruce that are underneath the aspen or poplar canopy, and we're protecting those as we're harvesting. So they go through a bunch of different ways you can do it, and they cut the trees down, the big trees, the mature trees, and they try to avoid.
Yeah, they actually put them behind the machine.
Yeah, purposefully leave all the small trees that aren't mature yet. They don't drive over them just because they're in the way. They leave them there, and then that means that you have a jump start on growth. So you've got now a forest that has like a 30 or 40 or 60 year jump start on conifer growth, and the studies that I've seen personally, I've cored trees that
you can see
had that application done to them, and you can see the giant, huge jumps in growth rings. Like they start growing up like crazy after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, understory protection is another way that we're starting to change the landscape, change the way we manage it. So yeah, it's a good one.
So when you were talking about caribou, you were talking about how they might be affecting like wolf populations, or they're trying to think about how to basically pull the strings on the ecosystem and the web and how that's going to make everything react. And that reminded me just a bit about Facebook again. So I'm on some page for something, and someone's like, "Oh, I don't have any fireflies near my lake." And yeah, I told you this is ridiculous. I don't have any fireflies near my lake, and I would really like if there's fireflies in my lake. What species of fireflies can I get in my lake? And I was like, "What are you doing? What are you actually doing?" And people were like, "Oh, these are the species of fireflies that are native to Alberta. You could probably find them over here." And I'm like, "Are you talking about moving species like in the province?" And there's so many things to talk about. So the first thing is, one, don't introduce species if it's not there. Like if something's not there, like if there's a little pond by your house and you're like, what harm could it be? I'm just going to drop these minnows in. And then I'm going to drop, the next fish in and the next fish in over X amount of years. Like don't stock your own ponds.
Yeah.
Just leave them alone.
Yeah. It's the reason it's not there.
You don't know what vegetation's in there. You don't know what insect populations are in there. You have no idea what that's supporting or could support. Mm-hmm. You might put a bunch of fish in there and then the trumpeter swan that visits every season suddenly doesn't want it anymore. Yeah. It changed something. So just don't affect the ecosystems around you. The other thing is, if there's especially insects, which are like not sensitive but pretty hardy to begin with, if they're not there already, they're lacking part of their food source, part of their habitat, something. Yeah. Bugs will go everywhere if they have what they need.
Well, and introducing insects is like a good way to cause some like super crazy trophic cascades where you like
what's a trope?
It's like, well, I'm just saying it's like the butterfly effect, right? Like the butterfly flaps its wings in Africa, and 100 years later, there's a storm that destroys.
Or
Canada,
they talk about like mercury, right? And stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like in your first fish, the little bit of mercury is not a big deal, but when you get up to your big game fish, it's like it's in a high level concentration. It's similar to that. So if you affect the lowest tier of stuff, it ripples up into all the predators and all the other.
Yeah. So introducing insects somewhere where they're not, don't do it.
Don't do it. And I destroyed this woman unapologetically, like yelled at her through my keyboard,
as you do through Facebook.
As I do through Facebook, as Facebook is for, in my opinion, a lot of the time. Whatever, it's what it gets used for. Whether or not that was his vision, that's what it's for now.
Derek's wars against the trolls.
Yeah, it's not even a troll. It's like some middle-aged person who's like, I'd love if there were fireflies off my porch at the lake. As if it's bad to be middle-aged. No, but it's just...
Says the young guy.
I don't know what it is. It's this concept.
It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with people that just don't know what they're talking about.
It's this concept that people want a thing, and they're so used to being able to change their world to make the thing possible, right? Yeah. Like, I want to have a lodge on that lake. Yeah. So they build a lodge. A bunch of other people build a bunch of homes. Now there's power lines, there's roads, there's grocery stores, there's sewer systems. Like, there's the full meal deal. Yeah. And it was just like, because people wanted to be on that lake. Yeah. So we're used to being the masters of our domain. So it's like, oh, I want pretty lights. I guess I'll introduce fireflies. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Yellowstone and stuff, when they had like the stuff they've done with wolves, when they had to reintroduce them and all the rest of it, and what that did to their ungulate populations, like you never really know what one little thing will do. Yeah.
Don't introduce things without like solid science and knowing what you're doing, and don't do it if you're just a public person.
Please don't.
Let the people that know what they're doing and doing the research do it, because there's a reason those things aren't there. So yeah, don't.
There's a biologist that was like. There was like, you're being a little harsh. And like, I'm a biologist. And I was like, then you know this. Yeah. Then you know this. If you're a biologist and you're not losing your mind at the concept of a civilian like reintroducing and moving insect populations, like how are you not losing your mind about this?
I don't know.
We should the two of us should be standing next to each other, throwing our hands in the air, just physically throwing things around a room while setting fires about people that are like, I just wanted this, so I just did that. Weird. All these trees are dead because this bug is here now. Or like, Oh, it's so stupid. Oh, this bird population isn't here anymore. Oh, because my insect outcompeted their food source. Oh,
It can happen
weird.
though, so you gotta be careful.
Oh, oh, the fish in the lake died. Yeah, they ate the one, kind of sawfly that can't compete because now there's fireflies, and it doesn't know how to eat the fireflies. It doesn't know fireflies are a thing. It's never seen one. Like it's it kills me. You never know. Like you could do that. You could bring a bug in and watch all the fish in like a lake die.
Yeah.
You have no idea how it's gonna ripple.
No, exactly. So
Everyone could be like, "It's weird. All the fish are dead." You're gonna be like, "Oh, the fireflies are real pretty," while slinking back into your cabin or whatever, being like closing the door. Homer Simpson into the shrubs.
invasive species.
Oh, don't do it.
Yeah, don't let it happen.
It just kills me.
Yeah, it does happen though. People are,
Oh, I don't know what.
you're physically hurting right now from this. I can tell.
It actually, it really bothers me. Like there were people talking about seed vaults and stuff. Like there's a big seed vault way up in the north. What is it, Sweden?
Oh man, that place. There's an island somewhere in the north. Yeah, somewhere way north, like in between Greenland and like Ireland, somewhere in there.
It's the seed vault.
Yeah, and
seed vault.
Yeah, and it's supposedly, I think it's roughly like 10 or 20 meters above where the sea level would be if all the ice in the world melted. Yeah. So this holds, apparently it's the biggest collection of world seeds ever done. So
they're basically trying to have it's the Noah's Ark of plants.
It is.
They're like, can we just get like a couple of everything?
Yeah, exactly.
And seeds store so well.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing. So a few people were talking about this on Facebook, and I just mentioned, I said, hey, there's this seed improvement center in Smoky Lake, which I have another story about. And I said they actually have this huge seed vault, but it's a huge private venture, so you can't really get tours or anything. But they have a bunch of tree species and whatever clones, whatever species they're housing or they're growing or they're managing. And people were like, oh, well, that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about like repositories and seed banks for the world and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but if the world ended, that's for the world. Like that vault is built into a hillside and has a huge steel like blast door on it.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing you would want to know about if we're talking about seed repositories. That's a seed repository.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, well, we can get a tour. And I sent them an email and they haven't responded yet. And I don't know about it. And I was like, and they said I wasn't being helpful. And I was like, I am.
You get so worked up with these people on Facebook. Just forget about the people on Facebook. They don't know what they're talking about.
It was so hurt.
There's a reason they're on Facebook and not on like a scientific forum. They're not writing papers.
I don't know why it is. Like, I know you've probably experienced this too. You know what? I'll tell my other Smoky Lake tree story first before I go on another completely different tangent. I was getting my hair cut. And I like to talk. You know this?
Forestry. Important topics.
Important topic. So, and then I was talking about like, oh yeah, I did this work at the Smoky Lake Tree Improvement Center, and without any other prompting, the person cutting my hair went off about, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they have genetically modified trees. I can't believe what they're doing. They don't even know what they're doing. The whole forest is going to die. It's going to be like one bug and it's going to kill everything, or it's all just going to fail. It's like, why are they doing this? And I was like, what are you talking about?
Where's this coming
and
from?
I just sat there, just in awe. Just like, and cutting your hair, you don't want to fight them too hard.
Doesn't it make you wonder, like, what we say stuff about that we haven't, like, you know what I mean? Our opinions on things that we know nothing about, but we like think we know about. Yeah. I wonder how many people look at us and are just like, what in the actual?
Yeah. No, and I had to explain to the person who was cutting my hair. I was like, no. It's like a totally different thing. It has like nothing to do with actually genetically modifying. They do like some selective breeding of things as like as an exercise, but it doesn't get to go on the land base.
No, we don't put artificial trees or artificially
like selectively bred.
Yeah.
No,
we don't do that.
There's no tree husbandry going onto your land base.
All the trees that you see that are planted are natural genetic versions of trees that, you know,
they came from the cup log.
Yeah. They pulled the seeds from the bush, they grew them in a greenhouse, and they put them back in the bush. They weren't gene spliced or anything like that. So It's all natural.
The only thing they did was clean the seeds, which basically just means they opened the cones, they got the wings off them, they separated the seeds that were empty or not viable from the ones that are full and ready to be germinated. Then they put them in the plugs, and then they put them in the ground.
Yeah, we're definitely not playing God.
No, I mean, you can't. And that's the other thing. The monocrops on the land base, so for example, if you have a crop, if you're growing wheat or canola or something, let's say you plant it all, it's this one strain, there's a blight that it's weak to, the blight comes through, kills your whole crop, you go, oh, that really sucks, my whole crop, no. And then you plant a different strain the next year and nothing's changed. You have one bad year, right?
Yeah.
It sucks. Now do that with forestry. Yeah. Now imagine we have this genetically modified, this really great tree, it grows super fast. You know, instead of taking 110 years, it's going to do it in 60. And we plant just a ridiculous amount of it everywhere. And then that blight comes through 30 years in that it's susceptible to, wipes it all out. We didn't lose a year. We lost 30.
Yeah.
The thing, we can't risk it.
No. Yeah, it's the same argument with like penned in animals. Right, like for example, there's deer and elk ranches and stuff like that, and the argument against those being there is that by having a high population of concentrated animals, you're creating a perfect pot for a disease to be created, a new disease that we don't know what it does, and you're asking for trouble. So let's let the natural animals be naturally on the landscape and not try to pen them up and make them this thing. There's a reason that, for example, the Elk Island National Park. They have overpopulation in Elk Island National Park. Now they're trying to figure out what to do. People are like, well, just let them go. Well, you can't, because they have some kind of disease. Basically every single one of them has some kind of disease that is transferable to other elk. And if they let them go in the landscape, now that disease is born throughout the landscape, and we're in big trouble.
And they're immune to it, but the ones on the land base outside the fence
or something. I don't know if they're immune to it or what the deal is with it, but it's some kind of specific disease that's there and it's nowhere else. But if we let them out, it will be everywhere else. So we can't let them out. They have to be managed somehow, some other way.
And the truth hurts, but that's why we have bullets.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? There's not a lot to be said about that. Sorry to be insensitive.
Or at least arrows, anyways.
Yeah, whatever. Arrows, bullets. That's all. It's all a simple point and click interface.
Man, we're flying through this. Like I said, this is why I like to bring Derrick on, because I can just be like, "Hey, Derrick, here's a microphone.
Wind me up and let me go."
Stuff. Oh yeah, wind you up and let you go. Because I'm like, I'm tired. You talk.
I'm tired. You talk. Let me tell you about. Insert controversial topic here.
Yeah. So yeah, there's like, what else could we talk about? I think we're pretty much coming down. It was 45 minutes in. We're pretty much coming to the end. But one other thing people were saying was I saw was kind of funny. Was that foresters, like, they hear the word forestry and immediately think lumberjack. They're just like, oh, you're just like some dumb hick lumberjack that like doesn't think, is uneducated and unskilled, and like that's for stupid people. It's like, no, it's not what it is. Forestry is like high tech, smart people that care about the land base, that are trying to do their best to make sure the land base is always there in the way that it is and unchanged, and that you can still, you don't have to wipe your ass with an owl. That's always nice.
Oh my god! I don't think I. Could you imagine?
That's a T-shirt. You never saw that?
Oh my god! Don't wipe your ass with an owl. Oh my god! No! I saw it. Man, I closed, the second you said it, I just saw someone very roughly grabbed a great horn. Its eyes got real big, and it just went down, and it was gone, and it wasn't the same. And you wiped like against the grain of the feathers too, and so it came out like shit covered and like backcombed. It got the shit perm treatment.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh my god.
Let's keep forestry going.
Oh, that kills
Conservation, forestry. All the environmental sciences. Let's keep it all.
I'm trying to
because we don't want that.
I'm trying to get my brain back in a place where I can comment on your.
You know what, man? It doesn't even matter.
Lumberjacks. Yeah. So like people ask me, they're like, "Oh, you're a lumberjack," and I'm like, "No," and here's why. And the biggest thing is like that's a really big deal. Like if you were going to call yourself a lumberjack, I expect you to be out every day hand falling. I expect you to be ridiculously skilled with
hand
a chainsaw.
Hand falling means with like a chainsaw,
wedges,
or axe. Yeah,
axes and stuff. Like, my father-in-law did that for a while in BC, right? He cut some of those really big trees on the coast and stuff. And, like, that's lumberjack work.
Yeah. And that's no joke.
I would even hesitate to call people who operate feller bunchers lumberjacks. I would think you're an equipment operator who happens to be operating one that cuts trees.
Yeah.
But, I've done a bit of hand falling, but I've never been a hand faller. Like, I've never done it for work. So I would never call myself a lumberjack.
Takes legit skill.
It does. And it's such an old title. We very rarely do hand falling in any real capacity, especially in Alberta.
Yeah.
And
BC
so
they do.
in BC they still do, yeah. They got ridiculously high value trees though. They can justify the wages. And Yeah, so when people say like you're a lumberjack, I'm like, no, I'm not cool enough. No.
Yeah.
Like I suck. Like
Yeah.
I was like, no, I just sit and like I have this 3D monitor and this LiDAR technology, and so it's all layered, and so I have a map that shows me the heights of all the trees, and I've got like a ground slope model. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, do you think? Oh no! I have all my teeth. I went to school. Like I don't. We're not okay. So it's forced technologist. Let me tell you about what I do, and then you have to explain to them that you're not this. I don't know, like moonshine drinking, straw hat wearing, grass on the teeth guy.
That's one of the biggest ones. Yeah,
and there's nothing against those people.
Yeah.
I mean, we work with those people.
But yeah, forestry. It's not for dummies.
It's really not. And I always talk about, they're like, oh, so you like plant trees? And I go, nope. I would be one of the people that would be organizing their work or overseeing them, but not actually doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
no, exactly.
We're just that kind of one step up. So we're not cutting the trees. We're overseeing the crews, or we're planning all of their harvest. We're planning the reforestation.
Yeah. No, it's an important job, and it takes a lot of time and effort and concentration and thought to be able to do it properly, right? It's not just a simple like get rid of trees, plant trees. There's a lot more that goes into it.
A lot of problem solving,
microsites and problem solving. Yeah, there's lots of things going on. So
primarily, what we do is we problem solve. We take our base knowledge, we have whatever inputs and whatever field data and maps and whatever we have, and then we say, okay, this is the solution to manage the resource and get it back to where it should be.
Yeah.
And we execute the plan. It goes exactly as it should, because we've done the research. We know how trees grow. And then you still have a forest. And also your house is built. And everything's great. And there's still birds. And you can still wipe your ass with an owl if you can catch one. It kills me.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Well, this is a productive 50 minutes.
That's generous.
Yeah.
Productive.
Well, productive in the sense that there wasn't any silence.
Wow.
Do you want to talk about people thinking the demand for forest products is dying real quick?
Oh, that's so dumb.
Like 5 minutes?
That's so dumb.
So
what people think is happening is they're just like, well, no one even like we've got better materials than wood or all the rest of it. Wood is a great material. They've improved.
Well, if you listen to the previous podcast, you know that, at least in my opinion, and I won't pretend like I'm pretty confident that wood is the only truly sustainable building resource we have on the planet.
Yeah. So even if you look beyond the building resources, which is really important because earthquakes are a thing, and wood is way better than concrete and earthquakes. Moving on. So if you look at like new technologies, so there's nanocrystalline cellulose, which is a really small, very, very fine cellulose product that's broken down mechanically.
Yeah.
That can be used in a bunch of stuff. They're doing tests with it to have it in like hydrogen fuel cell membranes and a bunch of new nanotechnologies, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then if you have the micro version of that, which isn't quite as fine, like that's in Miracle Whip. That's used as an emulsifier.
It's crazy.
So you're getting it's nuts. So you're getting trees that are ground up and put in food. Everybody eats.
Yeah.
So that means instead of that fiber being used for a building material or mulching or even firewood, now it's going to like a food product. So that's actually only increased demand.
They're making
for fiber.
Packaging, they're making bottles, they're making all kinds of stuff out of wood
There's
products.
cellulose-based like plastics and things now.
Yeah.
So in the classic sense of forestry, when you look at like lumber or you look at plywood or even look at pulp, you could say that the demand hasn't gone up or that it may have gone down or it may have changed. But what you don't see is the new cutting edge technologies that technically use wood fiber as either their core material or part of their material.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it, right? Your new laptop could have a cellulose component to one of its pieces, and you wouldn't think that's forestry, but someone cut those trees and got it to where it was manufactured.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. No, it's you said it perfectly. I don't think I need to say any more.
Cool.
That's pretty much it.
I win.
Sweet. Any final thoughts?
I don't know. Have me on again.
Sweet.
I have nothing like important to say. I have no discernible skills or talents, but I can do this.
Man, I would say talking.
Yeah.
Talking. Speaking your mind about like random,
I would love to
environmental
hear
thoughts.
if the people that listen to your podcast really liked this, or if they only heard the first 3 minutes, rolled their eyes twice, and went to the next
You talk
one.
fast.
Sorry about it. My brain.
But that's okay. It's good, man.
Whatever.
We need people like you.
A little bit passionate. A little bit crazy.
It's good. I like
a little
it.
bit volatile.
Who knows? We'll see. Like the first 3 podcasts you were on were like the first 3, so it's hard to say what the analytics said there.
Well,
so
we were just talking.
we'll see with this one, right?
They were basics. This is more of a like
We're still all
fire
over
and
the place.
brimstone preacher thing. I can really get animated on this. So
There we go. That was good. I'm
Thanks
still
for having me.
exhausted. I'm glad you're here and talking because I don't think I could pull it off by myself.
get hyped. Wipe your ass with an owl.
Anyways, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Your Forest podcast. And if you got any questions, send them to me, yourforestpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Rate and review. Tell your friends. Hand it out. I want this thing to get bigger.
Do you have someone you hate? Send it to them.
Yes.
Have someone you like? Maybe send it to them.
Yeah. Tell them about it first.
Tell them about it first. See if their eyes gloss over. Maybe just talk about the weather.
Yeah, I hope we didn't step over any knowledge boundaries here because we don't really know specifics about all this stuff. This
Neither are
is just
the people that write these Facebook
these are all
articles.
general forestry knowledge. Like, you talk to any forester, they're going to know these things. It's not like I'm providing any kind of
Base
extra
knowledge plus
information.
opinion equals this podcast.
Yeah.
This
Woo!
moment.
Anyways,
Woo.
thanks for checking it out, guys. Well, there's not going to be a podcast next week, so
There'll be one after that.
I'm going to be trying to kill stuff with a pointy stick and a string.
You
It's going to be fun.
can report on your success or your failure.
All right. Thanks a lot.